What if everything you know about the Madeleine McCann case is a lie? Brückner has been eliminated, and now suspicion turns to the most unexpected place, the parents themselves. But who really controls this narrative, and what truths are still in the shadows? In 2024, the most distressing mystery of the past decade is back to square one. Christian Brückner, the man who seemed to be the final piece of the puzzle, is out, and with him, the hope for a definitive solution also collapses. For years, the media and the German police fueled the idea that Brückner was the ideal culprit. He was in Algarve at the time of the disappearance and had a heavy criminal record. It seemed the puzzle was finally coming together, but the court simply rejected the charges, causing the official narrative to crumble and leaving a bitter feeling that once again everything was in vain. Brückner's lawyer did not hesitate to assert that his client should never have been accused. According to him, the witnesses were weak and the evidence non-existent. In the end, the feeling is that he was used as a scapegoat to respond to public pressure and close the saga. What was supposed to be the conclusion turned into another frustrating twist. Without Brückner, the path becomes a labyrinth again, and the police find themselves once more without clear leads. The frustration is not just among the authorities. Jerry and Kate McCann know that the closure might reignite old suspicions about them. From the beginning, the couple has lived on an emotional and judgmental roller coaster. Initially treated as devastated parents, they were soon seen by parts of the media and the public as possible suspects. With each new suspect eliminated, the shadow of doubt returns, threatening to plunge them back into the cycle of accusations. They know that with Brückner out, the old question might haunt them again. What if the McCanns were hiding something? The questions are not new, but they always resurface like wounds that never heal. Why did the Portuguese police so quickly suspect the parents? Why was the abduction narrative released so hastily? And why did subsequent investigations always fail? The answers remain absent to this day. Now with this latest blow, the case stalls again. Every lead dissolves into nothing. Every hope turns into frustration. The sense of déjà vu is inevitable. Just as happened with Robert Murat, one of the first suspects who was also discarded, Brückner is just another name on the long list of false promises. The media, which once printed headlines about nearing the truth, now find themselves forced to retreat. The McCann case, once the most reported in the world, is back to square one, an unsolved mystery without a culprit. As the investigation stumbles once more, the pain of the McCann family continues. It's not just Madeleine's absence that weighs on them, but also the lack of answers and constant public exposure. Each closure brings back the feeling of abandonment and the certainty that the truth is increasingly out of reach. Trust in the police and the media has been broken many times. What remains now is uncertainty. If it wasn't Brückner, who was it? But what if the truth never comes to light? Would we be ready to accept that? For years, Brückner was treated as the main suspect, the piece that would finally end the mystery. He was in Algarve at the time of the disappearance, had serious criminal records, and lived near where the McCann family vacationed. The German authorities worked hard to prove his guilt, while the media, hungry for answers, portrayed him as the perfect villain. Now all of that has fallen apart, leaving a mix of frustration and uncertainty in the air. The evidence was weak, and some witnesses were considered unreliable. In court, it became clear that there were more assumptions than concrete facts, and the case collapsed. For the German police, it was a hard blow. They had built a solid narrative and bet everything on this line of investigation. But in the end, they were left with nothing. The media, which previously insisted that Brückner was the perfect villain, now has to swallow its own words. And with that, the old doubt resurfaces. Who is really behind this mystery? And as always happens in these moments, attention turns to those who have been at the center of this mystery from the beginning. For years alternated between being treated as victims and suspects, felt the weight of the decision. They knew that with the Brückner line ended, speculations about their involvement could return. From the start, they faced accusations and malicious rumors, especially after the Portuguese police suspected them for a while. The case was never just about finding Madeleine. It also became a battle for the truth in the dominant narrative. And now the narrative seemed ready to pivot once again toward them. Kate in particular felt the accumulated emotional fatigue. Each new frustrated investigation was a reminder of her daughter's absence and the constant uncertainty. Even after so many years, the pain did not lessen. Jerry clung to reason, but in moments of silence, the question always returned, what if we never find the truth? It was a thought he dared not verbalize, not even to Kate. It was like carrying a stone that never left the path, no matter how much they tried to leave everything behind. On the authorities' side, the situation was also complicated. Without Brückner, the investigation lost its last major focus. The pressure to find a culprit continued, but the leads were becoming increasingly scarce. The Portuguese and British police, who had already clashed in the past, now needed to decide what the next step would be. The problem was that with each suspect eliminated, public confidence in the investigation dwindled further. People began to wonder if the truth would ever be revealed or if the case was doomed to remain a mystery. The English tabloids did not waste time. Articles began to appear recalling the beginning of the case and the suspicions about the McCanns. Even if the police had not formally reopened this line of investigation, the headlines did the job on their own. "Does the police need to take a closer look at those closest to Madeleine?" asked one journalist. With each headline, Jerry and Kate felt the tide turning again, and that soon they would be at the center of attention once more. In addition to external pressure, the couple faced internal conflicts. With each new twist, it was difficult to maintain hope. They had other children to raise, but Madeleine's absence continued to hang over everything. How to move forward when the past never stops knocking at the door? In the quietest nights, Kate still heard the creaking of the bedroom boards and wondered, will we ever be able to live without this shadow? And Jerry, no matter how hard he tried to stay strong, also found himself lost in thoughts about how everything had spiraled out of control. The worst part was the feeling of helplessness. No matter how many times they gave interviews or tried to clarify the facts, conspiracy theories always found new ways to flourish. On the internet, forums and social networks continued to fuel rumors and insinuations, as if the case were a puzzle to be solved by amateurs. The couple found themselves trapped in a cycle that seemed endless. Each time a suspect was eliminated, the same question resurfaced. What if they never discover what really happened? The closure of the charges against Christian Brückner left a trail of frustration and uncertainty. The impact was immediate. The police, who had bet everything on him as the main suspect, now found themselves empty-handed and with their credibility shaken. The media, which for years presented Brückner as the case's solution, had to retreat. And amid this chaos, the McCanns felt the familial weight of suspicion returning. On social networks and forums, headlines insinuated that it was time to reassess the parents' involvement, while TV shows and podcasts recalled details of the night Madeleine disappeared. Every time one of these programs aired, it seemed like an old wound reopened. The feeling of déjà vu was suffocating. Kate and Jerry knew that no matter what they did, the past would always come back to haunt them. Even if the police did not officially treat them as suspects, public judgment had never ended. Now, with the failure of the Brückner line, the risk of being dragged back to the center of the case was real. They tried to move forward over the years, but uncertainty never left room for peace to fully settle. How to maintain hope when each new lead dissolved into frustration? The decision to remain silent after the closure was difficult. Every phone call from journalists requesting a statement was another reminder that the situation had never been out of their control. They chose to wait, but knew that silence could also be used against them. As on other occasions, any misplaced word could become a headline and fuel new theories. Kate, in particular, felt on the verge of breaking. The constant media exposure and the pressure of speculations seemed never-ending. With each new report or insinuation, anguish their own crisis. Without new leads, the investigation began to lose strength once again. Public confidence plummeted, and the pressure for a solution increased. But where to look now? With the Brückner line dismissed, little remained but old hypotheses and cold leads. The investigators were cornered, and the McCanns knew that in such cases, the simplest answers, even if wrong, are what people tend to accept. At the height of tension, a new rumor began to circulate among some media outlets: the possibility that new investigations would be opened into the parents' conduct on the night of the disappearance. Although nothing was officially confirmed, the mere emergence of this possibility was enough to reopen old discussions. In online forums, debates raged. Why did no one ever thoroughly investigate the parents? Some users asked. Others argued that the couple had already suffered enough. It was the kind of debate that only increased their suffering. Now it's up to you, mystery hunters. With Brückner out of the picture, should investigations turn to the McCanns? Or are we just facing another desperate attempt to find a culprit? Leave your comment and keep this discussion alive. Your opinion might shed new light on this mystery. With Brückner out of the picture, the McCanns had to face, once again, the invisible but constant pressure that has always surrounded them. The cycle repeated itself. A suspect eliminated. New questions about their conduct on the night of the disappearance. Jerry and Kate became accustomed to the idea that they would never be free from this burden, but that did not make things any easier. Every look of distrust, every article insinuating that they were hiding something, was like a needle piercing a wound that never fully closed. Kate, no matter how hard she tried to move forward, found herself reliving that night in 2007. The smell of the Algarve air, the creaking of the bedroom boards, and the emptiness in Madeleine's bed were memories that wouldn't go away. Over the years, she learned to keep up appearances to protect the family and to prevent others from seeing their cracks. But in the silent nights, alone with her thoughts, uncertainty gnawed at her. Is there still something they haven't seen? What if they never find the truth? Jerry struggled to be the family's pillar, but he also felt the weariness. Staying calm in the face of media attacks was a daily battle. He knew that any statement could become ammunition for theories and speculations, and silence, on the other hand, only fed rumors. It was an impossible game to win. In the toughest moments, he wondered if it still made sense to fight. But then he remembered Madeleine. It was for her that he continued. Even if the world gave up, he couldn't. Each day without answers added another stone to the wall of frustration. And on the other side of that wall, the truth remained out of reach, as if slipping through their fingers. The headlines tried to keep the public's interest alive, but over time, even the media began to lose strength. Gradually, Madeleine's disappearance seemed to become one of those endless stories, marked by mistakes, broken hopes, and doors that closed without explanation. Amid all this, the McCanns discovered that the real battle was not against the police or the media, but against oblivion. Kate feared that over time, Madeleine's image would become just a distant memory to the world. Keeping the search alive was not just a matter of justice, but also of preserving their daughter's memory. Because forgetting meant giving up, and giving up would never be an option. Even if the case was never solved, the love for Madeleine was an anchor that kept them steadfast. Jerry and Kate understood that they might never be able to close this story as they had imagined. But moving forward did not mean forgetting. It meant accepting that the search for the truth was, in itself, an act of resistance. The closure of the charges against Christian Brückner left the investigation aimless and reopened old wounds, both for the family and the public. Without a new defined path, the question that always haunts this case remains. Will the truth ever come to light, or is it destined to remain forever lost in the shadows of theories and system failures? Brückner was seen as the last great hope to close this mystery, but in the end, he turned out to be just another discarded piece in a game that has lasted almost 2 decades. The frustration of so many dead ends is not only felt by the authorities, but also by the public, who follows each twist with the hope that Madeleine will be found, or at least that the truth will be revealed. However, the collapse of this line of investigation reinforces what has become evident over the years. Perhaps the greatest enemy in this case is not just the real culprit, but time itself. Who lived the emotional roller coaster between being seen as victims and suspects, continue to bear the weight of their daughter's disappearance. Despite all the wear and tear, they remain trapped in an endless search while dealing with the uncertainty of never knowing if the truth will be discovered. For them, each new investigative failure is a painful reminder of the absence of answers, in the absence of Madeleine. How to keep living when hope is always hanging by a thread? And the police, for their part, are also at a crossroads. After years of unsuccessful investigations and failed theories, there is little more they can do. The public begins to wonder if the McCann case will be just another one on the list of great unsolved mysteries, like the disappearances of other children that have fallen into oblivion. The truth is, the more time passes, the more hopes dissipate. And this raises the question, if justice doesn't come now, will it ever come? This is where things get really dark. This case reminds us that not every monster hides in the shadows. Sometimes the real monster can take the form of constant doubt, the weight of distrust, or the authorities' failure to deliver answers. It's an uncomfortable but essential truth. Evil may be closer than we think, not just in criminals, but in the way justice can fail and leave wounds open for years. Now, mystery hunters, I want to hear from you. If you've read this far, comment. I am part of the search for the truth, so I know you stayed with me until the end. And what do you think? Should the investigation turn back to the McCanns, or is the case stuck in a dead-end cycle? Your opinions are important. Each comment helps keep this conversation alive, and perhaps even brings a new perspective to the case. We cannot predict the future, but one thing is certain: the Madeleine McCann mystery is not over yet. And if there is something this case teaches us, it is that the search for the truth requires patience, courage, and above all, persistence. Endings are not always as we expect, but the search continues. Do you have a case or topic suggestion you want to see here on the channel? Leave it in the comments. Your idea could become our next video and help delve even deeper into the investigations that you, mystery hunters, so love. If you've made it this far, get ready. In the next video, we'll we'll dive into an equally disturbing case where the answers came too late. Click now and continue this endless investigation. Subscribe now and help uncover the darkest secrets of the human mind. Stay tuned, mystery hunters, because evil might be closer than you think until the next investigation.